Hello everyone and welcome back to Strange Wonders. As always, I'm your host Mr.G. Well, this guy was left out of the bear video for a reason, because I have plenty to say here. Not necessarily about the animal itself, but rather, well, we'll get back to that. Anyway, today we're talking about the panda, Ailuropoda melanaluca. A species of bear native to China, they're instantly recognizable thanks to their black and white fur. Pandas, for the longest time, confused scientists as to if they were true bears or just animals that looked like bears. But then in the 80s, DNA tests revealed that, yeah, they're bears. Pandas are still omnivores like all bears, but they found out about a life hack that ensures they have a consistent form of food. You see, one day, a long time ago, a panda realized, wait a minute, these tall branches are food! And that food is bamboo, which is very common in the areas they're native to. This worked out beautifully for the panda. Bamboo is everywhere, it grows fast, and it's huge, ensuring they are never in danger of running out of the stuff. In fact, bamboo makes up most of their diet, with them only occasionally eating other foods. You might be tempted to call them lazy for this, but let's be real. If we found out about a food that was everywhere and filled all our nutrition needs, I think we would end up the same way. Don't even try to argue with it. Now, despite their mostly herbivorous lifestyle and rather cute appearance, it's not recommended to approach wild pandas. They're still bears after all, and if threatened, they'll remind you why people are scared of bears. They may not do kung fu like the most famous panda, but they still have very sharp claws that can rip your stomach out. Now, on the topic of pandas, we need to discuss the red panda, Ailurus fulgens. Now, despite the name, they're not related to the giant panda, and despite appearances, they're not raccoons either. In fact, they're not really related to anything. They're their own family. Believe it or not, these guys were the first ones who were called pandas. They were named nearly 40 years before the bears. Anyway, like the other panda, red pandas have a diet also mostly consisting of bamboo. Yeah, not much else to say here. Now that we got that out of the way, let's look at the card. Well, I'm not really going to deduct a point for this, but I do find it interesting they use terminology that makes it look like pandas being confirmed or bears is a recent occurrence, even though that would have been like 20 years old by the time this card came out, so I don't get why they act like it's something that only just got discovered. But I'm not deducting a point for that, it's just weird wording. Oh boy, I have quite a bit to say about the giant panda, so let's start with the red panda. There's a lot less to talk about there. Red pandas are pretty popular in captivity, most zoos I've been to have had them, and they show up a decent amount of times in media. And if I had to give a commonality between appearances, I'd say power. A lot of red panda characters are shown as being pretty strong, like Shifu from Kung Fu Panda, who's pretty strong, the Pokemon Beware, a red panda, and they're strong. There's Turning Red, where red pandas are used as strength symbols, and then there's the anime about the angry red panda, but I forget what it's called. So I guess being strong is the red panda stereotype in media. I don't know. Now on to the big panda. First and foremost, they're the national animal of China, and they're also a mascot for endangered species due to how they nearly got wiped out in the 1900s. In fact, they're straight up the mascot for the biggest endangered species group, the World Wildlife Foundation. Nowadays, pandas aren't officially endangered anymore, having been bumped up to threatened, but their status as an endangered species has sparked several debates, and I'll get back to that in a moment. Let's talk about lighter stuff first. Pandas are relatively uncommon in captivity, not because they're hard to raise, but because it's difficult to get them. You see, China owns all the pandas in the world, and for a zoo to get one, they have to prove they're worthy of owning one before they're given one, and most zoos just don't find it to be an effort worth going through. Pandas show up a lot in media, most famously Po from Kung Fu Panda, and they're usually portrayed as gluttons, presumably because of how much they eat in real life. Okay, I've danced around it long enough, let's talk about that debate. You see, for many years now, people have argued back and forth as to if we should just save pandas, or if we should let them go extinct. Well, I promised I would talk about calls for extinction, so here we go. I do not like the idea of people deciding which animals are worthy of going extinct. Mostly because, first off, I don't feel like it's our place to officially decide what animals deserve to live or not. I already hate the mentality of, it's our world and the animals are living in it. But, let's look into specific arguments and I'll explain why I don't believe them. Number 1, pandas draw attention away from other endangered animals. You know, it's kind of stupid to blame this on the panda. Humans are naturally going to be more attached to the mostly herbivorous cute animal than they are to the rather unconventionally looking predator. So I don't think the panda going extinct would solve the issue of scary animals being endangered. if they did go extinct, people would just latch onto another cute animal. So if you wanted the general public to care about the scary animals, you have to wipe out all the cute animals, which seems a little extreme to me. Number 2, they don't reproduce. What's the point? Yes, it's true that for the longest time, pandas are difficult to breed in captivity. But guess what? We figured out the issue. Turns out we were trying to breed them outside their breeding seasons. Of course they weren't going to have babies during that time. This argument isn't really used anymore ever since we cracked the code of how to breed them, but I just wanted to debunk it for completion's sake. Number 3, they don't do anything. Look, not every animal plays a super important role in the ecosystem. That's just a fact. But that also doesn't mean we should wipe them out. I mean, if we're using the pointlessness argument, then shouldn't we wipe out swordfish? I mean, they're just another aquatic predator, so what's the point of them? Oh, how about all those tropical reef fish? They're pretty interchangeable. What's the point of keeping them alive? And, we already have wolves. Do we really need mountain lions? You see what I mean? You can do this with a lot of animals. Plus, they don't harm anything in the ecosystem, so there's no harm in keeping them alive either. And finally, imagine people wanting you dead for not contributing enough to society. That's basically what's going on here. And finally, number 4, pandas are evolutionary failures. This argument. Basically, because pandas found a way to get a lot of food without doing anything, this has led people to declare them as evolutionary failures destined to die out. I mean, just compare this failure to the prime predator of the T-Rex, nature's perfect killer, and... oh wait, they died. But what about Smilodon, one of the greatest predators of the Ice Age, and they became too specialized, their prey died out, and they couldn't keep up with the remaining herbivores and died. How about Megalodon, a level 10 carnivore that nothing could touch, and nope, they got wiped out because they couldn't compete with the smaller, faster predators. So do any of these apply to pandas? And let's see, no apocalyptic meteor coming anytime soon, and I think more than just them would be wiped out if that happened. They're not really over-specialized, they can still eat other stuff just fine, they just found an easy food source. Will they be outcompeted? Probably not, nothing else really eats bamboo to their extent. Alright, then how come they're endangered, I hear you ask? Well, literally every reason for pandas' declining numbers relates back to something humans have done, like hunting and deforestation. So not only did we cause a species to drop in numbers, but then we act like it's their fault. And that seems like a pretty scummy thing to me. The point I'm trying to make is that pandas were doing fine for a good long time, and all of their causes for endangerment are human-related. While animals touted around as evolutionary successes, a lot of them died out before humans even existed. So, it's stupid to say, oh, this animal's a failure and this animal was an evolutionary success. Because, newsflash, every animal goes extinct eventually. There's not really such thing as evolutionary failures. Wow, that went on for a while. I just had a lot to say about that topic. And if you still think they deserve to be wiped out, tell me why. And if you disagree with anything I said, also tell me why. I've been Mr. G. See you next time when I talk about the smart guys of the savannah. Goodbye.